You can't make peace when someone has been so nefarious in my opinion, so like horrible.
Hollywood is famous for sparking lifelong friendships and even marriages. But that was never the case for Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. The two first crossed paths while working on the 1974 film Lords of Flatbush. But their relationship quickly took a turn for the worse. A heated clash between the two actors led to Richard Gere being fired from the project, marking the start of a deep and lasting rift. For years, the story remained mostly a mystery, but recently, Gere finally opened up about his feelings towards Stallone. He admitted that he utterly hated him and didn't hold back when explaining why. Join us in this video as we find out. He utterly hated Sylvester Stallone. Now we know the reason why. The story behind Richard Gere's long-standing hatred for Sylvester Stallone dates back to one of Stallone's early roles in the 1974 film The Lords of Flatbush. Gere had originally been cast as Chico, a character eventually played by Perry King. But during rehearsals, something unexpected happened that changed everything. The two actors clashed over a spilled condiment, and that small moment triggered something much bigger. That messy disagreement ended up costing Richard Gere his spot in the film, and as it turns out, it also lit the fire for a feud that has lasted over 50 years. Stallone and Gere never worked together again. That one movie was both the beginning and the end of their professional relationship. While on set, things only got worse. Stallone, who would later become a household name through his roles in Rocky and Rambo, had to film a fight scene with Gere, who went on to star in Pretty Woman. Looking back on that moment, Stallone told Ain't It Cool News, "He crossed the line. He grabbed me, and I calmly told him to calm down. But he was so into his character, there was just no reasoning with him." Stallone also didn't hold back on his thoughts about Gere's attitude. He walked around in his biker jacket like he was the toughest guy on set, Stallone said. But here's where the story really earns its title. Because believe it or not, the reason behind Richard Gere's hatred wasn't just about acting or egos. It all came down to a mustard chicken sandwich. While the two were eating lunch inside a car, Stallone noticed that Gere's sandwich was dripping. He warned Gere to be careful, but his warning was ignored. Moments later, the sandwich splattered right onto Stallone. That was the last straw. "I elbowed him in the head and pushed him out of the car," Stallone recalled. From that point on, things went downhill fast. The set became unbearable, and the director had no choice but to pick between them. Since the two actors couldn't stand each other, one had to go. In the end, Richard Gere was the one who was let go, and Perry King stepped in to take over his role. But Gere was let go and replaced by Perry King before filming started, not because of acting or casting choices, but just because he and Stallone kept arguing and couldn't get along. And that, finally, is the moment we now know was the real reason behind Richard Gere's long-standing grudge. He utterly hated Sylvester Stallone, and now we know exactly why. After uncovering why Richard Gere disliked Sylvester Stallone, might there be deeper reasons that fueled even greater tension between them? Stay tuned to find out. Richard and Sylvester's clash over Princess Diana. Princess Diana didn't just win the hearts of the public. She also seemed to leave Hollywood's biggest stars completely enchanted. In his new book, Diana World, An Obsession, author Edward White reveals how the late Princess of Wales not only shook the British royal family, but also left a lasting mark on pop culture, even decades after her tragic death in 1997 at the age of 36. One eye-catching story in the book involves what White refers to as the Diana effect. It's a tale about Sylvester Stallone and Richard Gere nearly coming to blows over Diana at a party hosted by Elton John in the 1990s. This account originally came from Elton John's husband, David Furnish. Fox News Digital tried to get comments from Stallone, now 78, and Gere, 75, about the incident. In the past, Stallone was asked by a fan about the story on Instagram and reportedly replied, "Complete fabrication," according to biography.com. It's a story that also appeared in Elton's autobiography, White told Fox News Digital. He invited both Stallone and Gere to a house party, and Diana happened to be there as well. Since it was Elton John's home, the guest list was filled with A-listers and European royals. They both showed up, White said. According to Elton, Stallone arrived with the clear intention of charming Diana, which, honestly, was probably a long shot. But that seemed to be his plan. White continued, "When Stallone saw Diana deep in conversation with Richard Gere, it didn't sit well with him. As the evening went on, he reportedly got more and more frustrated. He felt like Gere was dominating her attention." At some point, according to Elton, Stallone lost his cool, White added. He confronted Gere, and it looked like things were about to turn physical. The two had to be separated. It turned into this display of ego. Two macho stars acting like rivals over a woman neither of them realistically had a real chance with. Elton first described the incident in his 2019 memoir, Me. In that book, he recalled seeing Gere and Diana seated by the fireplace, deep in conversation. The atmosphere of the party shifted noticeably. "As the rest of us chatted, I sensed something odd in the room," Elton wrote. "The looks Stallone kept giving them made it obvious he wasn't happy with the closeness between Diana and Richard Gere. I think Stallone came to the party hoping to flirt with Diana, only to realize someone had already stolen her attention." Elton added that Diana and Gere seemed instantly comfortable with one another. Later, when dinner was served, all the guests moved to the dining room, except Stallone and Gere. Elton sent Furnish to go check on them. Furnish returned with both actors in tow, but looked noticeably shaken. He had this pale expression, Elton recalled. Furnish then told Elton that there had been a situation. As Furnish explained, he had found Stallone and Gere in a hallway, facing off, apparently about to fight over Diana. Thankfully, he stepped in before it escalated, and both men returned to dinner without further drama. Elton noted that Diana seemed completely unfazed by the whole episode. Another amusing but telling memory came from Tessa Baring, who worked with Barnardo's children's charity. She remembered a lunch in London where Stallone was very eager, almost pushy, about sitting next to Princess Diana. As Edward White recounts in his book, Baring said they didn't allow Stallone to sit directly beside Diana. Instead, he was placed next to a young girl named Tracy, who was already seated beside the princess. Baring remembered the moment because of how gracefully and cleverly Diana handled it. She managed to make Stallone feel included, while also bringing the child into the interaction. It also gave Diana a chance to ask Stallone some fun, cheeky questions. She leaned over to him and, acting as though she was speaking for both herself and the little girl, asked, "Tracy and I want to know if you're married." It was a playful, disarming way of engaging him, and it kept the mood light and enjoyable. Could the tension between them have sparked rumors that only deepened Richard Gere's dislike for Sylvester Stallone? Keep watching to find out. The rumor that haunted Richard Gere. Even though it might sound a bit silly that Richard Gere was removed from a movie because of a mustard stain, the real issue for Sylvester Stallone seemed to be about the idea behind it. Even though Gere went on to have a long and successful career in Hollywood, it doesn't look like he and Stallone ever became friends again. In fact, their fight goes even deeper. Some people think Sylvester Stallone may have started the strange and inappropriate story about Richard Gere and a gerbil. Gere is best known for starring in movies like Chicago and Pretty Woman, but he has also been followed for years by a strange and not family-friendly rumor. Back in the 1980s and 1990s, a story spread that Gere went to the hospital for emergency surgery after putting a live gerbil into his rectum. The rumor claimed the animal died inside him, and doctors had to remove it. The story is shocking, but it became so popular in pop culture that it was even joked about on Saturday Night Live and in Wes Craven's movie, Scream. Even though some people believe Stallone made up the rumor, there's no clear reason why he would do that. He didn't lose his job, so he didn't really have extra reason to be angry with Gere. Still, it's clear that Gere's actions during the filming of the Lords of Flatbush stayed in Stallone's memory. Richard Gere doesn't talk much about the gerbil story, and not much is known about what he thinks of the fight with Stallone. He last talked about the rumor around 10 years ago, saying it's one of the reasons he tries not to read gossip or tabloid stories. He told The Village Voice, shared by Uproxx, that he tries to stay away from that kind of press. Many people think Stallone may have told the story to hurt Gere's name after their fight. Stallone has said he didn't do it, but the rumor has followed Gere for a long time. In the end, the fight between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone, like the strange gerbil rumor, remains a mystery. It doesn't seem like the two actors will become friends again anytime soon, but at least both of them have had good careers, even if they've stayed far apart since their argument during the Lords of Flatbush. Building on the film that started it all, let's dive deeper into the story and details of the movie. The story behind the Lords of Flatbush and Gere's exit. The Lords of Flatbush is a 1974 American comedy film directed by Martin Davidson and Stephen F. Verona. The movie features a memorable cast, including Sylvester Stallone, Perry King, Paul Mace, Henry Winkler, and Susan Blakely. Stallone also contributed creatively by writing additional lines of dialogue. The story focuses on a group of streetwise teenagers who sport leather jackets and live in the Flatbush neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York. Alongside other hits like American Graffiti, the television show Happy Days, the musical Grease and its film adaptation, and the rock nostalgia act Sha Na Na. This film played a key role in reviving popular interest in 1950s greaser culture during the 1970s. Set in 1958, the film is a coming-of-age tale that follows four blue-collar Brooklyn teens known as the Lords of Flatbush. These boys spend their days chasing girls, stealing cars, shooting pool, getting into street fights, and hanging out at the local malt shop. Chico, one of the boys, sets his sights on Jane, a girl who plays hard to get, while losing interest in the more eager Annie. Another member, Stanley, believes he has gotten his girlfriend Franny pregnant, and she pressures him into marrying her. Even after learning before the wedding that she was never pregnant, Stanley still chooses to go through with the marriage. Then there's Butchie Weinstein, a highly intelligent teen who hides his smarts behind a goofy act to fit in with his friends. Wimpy Murgalow, loyal to a fault, admires Stanley deeply and ends up serving as best man at his wedding. By the end of the film, all four boys start to grow up and face adulthood. This transformation is symbolized in the wedding scene, where they trade their signature leather jackets for formal suits, reflecting their step toward maturity. Originally, Richard Gere was cast in the role of Chico, but he was removed from the production due to ongoing conflicts with Stallone during rehearsal sessions. Could these tensions have affected Richard personally and shaped the path of his acting career? Stay tuned to find out. Richard Gere's career impacted by China's influence. For nearly 2 decades, spanning from 1982's An Officer and a Gentleman to 2002's Chicago, Richard Gere was a major box office star. His undeniable chemistry with Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman was so powerful that Paramount reunited them almost a decade later for the follow-up, Runaway Bride. However, something shifted over time. Gere gradually stopped landing leading roles in big Hollywood films. While it's common for actresses to face this as they age, Gere insists his experience is quite different. He believes Hollywood's decision to sideline him had little to do with his age and much more to do with an entirely different factor: China. As one of the largest financiers of Hollywood movies today, China holds significant influence, and Gere, a devoted Tibetan Buddhist and longtime friend of the Dalai Lama, publicly criticized the country during the 1993 Oscars when he went off script while presenting an award. "There are definitely films I can't be part of because the Chinese say, 'Not with him,'" Gere revealed in a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter. "Just recently, someone told me they couldn't finance a film with me because it would upset the Chinese." Since boldly drawing attention at the Oscars to China's horrible human rights situation, Gere has remained fiercely dedicated to his cause. He has called for a boycott of the 2008 Beijing Olympics, pushed for Tibet's independence, and spoken out against China in numerous interviews. Although Gere has maintained a steady career starring in smaller independent films such as Norman and The Dinner, released this April and May, he admits that even some low-budget projects have hesitated to cast him, fearing the backlash from China's powerful influence. Amid the tension and rivalry between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone, let's take a closer look at their early lives and rise to fame. Could these conflicts have stalled their paths to success? The life of Sylvester Stallone, from struggles to stardom. Sylvester Gardenzio. Stallone was born on July 6, 1946, in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of Manhattan, New York City. He is the eldest son of Jacqueline "Jackie" Stallone, a well-known astrologer and promoter of women's professional wrestling, and Francesco "Frank" Stallone Sr., a hairdresser who owned several salons in Maryland and had a passion for polo. His mother was American, born in Washington, D.C. with French and Ukrainian Jewish ancestry, while his father was an Italian immigrant from Gioia del Colle who moved to the United States in the 1930s. Sylvester has a younger brother, Frank Stallone, who is an actor and musician. There are many stories about Stallone's full birth name being Michael Sylvester Gardenzio Stallone. His mother once said she wanted to name him Tyrone, inspired by the actor Tyrone Power, but his father insisted on Sylvester. As a child, Stallone's nickname was Binky, though later he went by Mike or Michael because other kids teased him by calling him Stinky. His middle name, Gardenzio, is a variation of the Italian name Gaudenzio, and he often shortened it to Enzio. At birth, Stallone experienced complications. Doctors had to use 2 pairs of forceps, accidentally damaging a nerve that caused partial paralysis on the lower left side of his face, affecting his lip, tongue, and chin. This gave him his distinctive snarling look and slurred speech. Growing up, he faced bullying because of this, which led him to find refuge in bodybuilding and acting. A school counselor once told his mother that Sylvester was only fit for simple work, like running a sorting machine or operating elevators. But Stallone had bigger dreams. He wanted to be an actor and a writer. In his early years, Stallone spent time in foster care and boarding schools. At age 5, he reunited with his family, who moved to Maryland. In the early 1950s, his father relocated the family to Washington, D.C. to open a beauty school. In 1954, his mother founded a women's gym named Barbella's. After his parents divorced when Stallone was 11, he lived with his father for a time, but at 15 he moved to Philadelphia to live with his mother, who had remarried. During high school, Stallone's rough reputation was evident. He was once voted most likely to end up in the electric chair. Despite this, he attended Notre Dame Academy and Abraham Lincoln High School in Philadelphia, as well as Charlotte Hall Military Academy in Maryland. He later enrolled at Miami-Dade College. Between 1965 and 1967, he studied at the American College of Switzerland. Returning to the U.S., he studied drama at the University of Miami from 1967 to 1969, although he didn't complete his degree at that time. Years later, in 1998, Stallone successfully petitioned the university to count his acting and life experiences toward his credits, earning him a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. Until 1969, he acted under the name Mike Stallone. From 1970 onward, he used the stage name Sylvester E. Stallone. While at the University of Miami, he acted in a drama called That Nice Boy, filmed in 1968, and appeared in a low-budget film titled Horses in 1969 alongside John Hertzfeld. Stallone's first significant role came in 1970 with a softcore porn film called The Party at Kitty and Studs. He was paid only $200 for 2 days of work, a job he took out of desperation after being kicked out of his apartment and experiencing homelessness for several days. He even slept for 3 weeks at the Port Authority bus terminal in New York before spotting a casting call for the movie. The film was later re-released as Italian Stallion to capitalize on Stallone's rising fame and his famous nickname from Rocky. Around this time, Stallone also starred in an erotic off-Broadway play called Score, which ran for 23 shows in 1971 and was later adapted into a film in 1974. After moving to New York City, Stallone lived with his girlfriend Sasha Chak, an aspiring actress who supported them both by working as a waitress. Stallone took on odd jobs such as cleaning at a zoo and working as a theater usher, although he was eventually fired from the usher position for illegally selling tickets. To improve his craft, he spent hours at the library, developing an interest in the works of Edgar Allan Poe. By 1972, Stallone was close to giving up on acting. He tried, but failed to land a role as an extra in The Godfather. Instead, he secured minor, often uncredited roles in films such as What's Up, Doc?, starring Barbra Streisand, where his presence was barely noticeable. A turning point came when a friend invited Stallone to act in a play, during which an agent noticed him and suggested he audition for the role of Stanley in The Lords of Flatbush, a film made intermittently between 1972 and 1974 due to financial issues. Around 1973, Stallone landed his first true starring role in the independent film No Place to Hide, portraying a man involved in urban terrorism in New York. This film was later re-edited and renamed Rebel, featuring Stallone as the lead. In 1990, it was even parodied in A Man Called Him Rainbow. Stallone's early film roles were mostly small or uncredited. He appeared briefly in MASH, 1970, as a soldier, Pigeons, 1970, as a party guest, Woody Allen's Bananas, 1971, as a subway thug, the thriller Klute, 1971, as a club dancer, and The Prisoner of Second Avenue, 1975, as a young man who gets mugged. His second major role came in The Lords of Flatbush in 1974. The following year, he appeared in supporting roles in Farewell, My Lovely, Capone, and Death Race 2000, as well as guest appearances on TV shows like Police Story and Kojak. He was reportedly cast in Mandingo, but his scenes were cut from the final film. Stallone achieved worldwide fame with his starring role in Rocky, 1976, a sports drama about Rocky Balboa, an underdog boxer who gets a shot at the heavyweight championship against Apollo Creed. On March 24, 1975, after watching the Muhammad Ali vs. Chuck Wepner fight, Stallone was inspired to write the first draft of Rocky in just 3 days. Although Stallone later downplayed Wepner's influence, Wepner sued him, and the case was settled privately. Additional inspirations for the film may have come from Rocky Graziano's autobiography, Somebody Up There Likes Me, and the 1956 film of the same name. Stallone tried to sell the script to many studios, insisting he play the lead role himself. Producers Irwin Winkler and Robert Chartoff liked the script and offered $350,000, but wanted stars like Robert Redford or Burt Reynolds to play Rocky. Stallone refused to sell unless he could star, and after some budget compromises, they agreed. When Rocky premiered, critic Roger Ebert praised Stallone, predicting he could become the next Marlon Brando. At the 1977 Academy Awards, Rocky received 10 nominations, including Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay for Stallone. The film won 3 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing. Rocky was later added to the National Film Registry, and its props were displayed in the Smithsonian Museum. The famous steps outside the Philadelphia Museum of Art became known as the Rocky Steps, and the city erected a statue of Rocky near the museum. The character Rocky Balboa was also inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Richard Gere's journey in film and theater. Richard Gere was born in Philadelphia on August 31, 1949. He is the eldest son and the second child of Doris Ann, née Tiffany, 1924–2016, a homemaker, and Homer George Gere, 1922–2023, who worked as an insurance agent for NMIC. Gere began his professional acting career in 1969 at the Seattle Repertory Theater and the Provincetown Playhouse in Cape Cod, where he starred in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. His first major role came in 1971 with the rock opera Soon, written by Scott Fagan and Joe Kukulis. The show opened on Broadway at the Ritz Theater, but closed after just 3 performances. In 1973, he took the stage in the original London production of Grease. Gere was also one of the earliest well-known Hollywood actors to portray a gay character, playing a Holocaust victim in the 1979 Broadway play Bent, a role that earned him a Theatre World Award. Gere's Hollywood film career began in the mid-1970s. He was initially cast in the lead role of the Lords of Flatbush, 1974, but was replaced following a dispute with co-star Sylvester Stallone. He then appeared in a small yet important role in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977, followed by a starring role in Terrence Malick's critically acclaimed drama Days of Heaven, 1978. His breakthrough came with the 1980 crime drama American Gigolo, which raised his profile significantly. That success was solidified with An Officer and a Gentleman, 1982, a romantic drama co-starring Deborah Winger that grossed nearly $130 million and won 2 Academy Awards out of 6 nominations. Gere himself received his first Golden Globe nomination for his performance. During the remainder of the 1980s, Gere starred in a series of films with mixed critical and commercial results. His career saw a strong comeback in 1990 with the releases of Internal Affairs and the box office hit Pretty Woman, which earned him a second Golden Globe nomination. Throughout the 1990s, Gere starred in a string of popular films, including Sommersby, 1993, with Jodie Foster, Primal Fear, 1996, and Runaway Bride, 1999, reuniting with his Pretty Woman co-star Julia Roberts. He also led the action thriller The Jackal, 1997, portraying a former IRA operative named Declan Mulqueen, and adopted an Irish accent for the role. In 1999, People magazine named Gere the sexiest man alive. Around that same period, he starred in 3 successful films: The Mothman Prophecies, 2002, Unfaithful, 2002, and the musical film Chicago, 2002, which won an Academy Award. His performance in Chicago earned him his first Golden Globe Award. In 2004, Gere starred in the dance drama Shall We Dance, which was also a hit, grossing $170 million worldwide. However, his next film, the book-based drama B Season, 2005, did poorly at the box office. Gere went on to co-star with Jesse Eisenberg and Terrence Howard in the 2007 thriller The Hunting Party, playing a journalist reporting from Bosnia. That same year, he joined Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, and Cate Blanchett in Todd Haynes' I'm Not There, a partly fictional story about Bob Dylan in which Gere was one of 6 actors portraying different versions of the musician. In 2008, he starred alongside Diane Lane in the romantic drama Nights in Rodanthe. Though critics largely criticized the film, and The Times included it in its list of the worst movies of 2008, it still earned more than $84 million worldwide. It also became his last major film produced entirely by a major studio. Gere has said he believes his outspoken political views, especially about China, an important market for Hollywood, have led major studios to distance themselves from him. Because of this, he embraced roles in smaller independent films, many of which earned some of the best reviews of his career. He was particularly praised for his role as businessman Robert Miller in Arbitrage, 2012, a performance that brought him his 4th Golden Globe nomination. Among the many positive reviews, Peter Travers of Rolling Stone described his acting as too good to ignore and a powerful performance. In 2012, he was honored with the Golden Starfish Award for Lifetime Achievement at the Hamptons International Film Festival and the Career Achievement Award from the Hollywood Film Awards. A couple of years earlier, in December 2010, he had also been recognized with an award from the 34th Cairo International Film Festival. In 2016, Gere took a bold turn from his usual roles by starring in the political drama Norman, directed by Joseph Cedar. He played Norman Oppenheimer, a small-time Jewish fixer. Gere said the character represented the parts of ourselves that are annoying and needy. His performance was described as consistently, completely fascinating by RogerEbert.com, and Variety considered it strong enough to deserve consideration for an Academy Award nomination. In addition to acting, Gere is a skilled musician. He composed and performed the piano theme for Pretty Woman and played a guitar solo in Runaway Bride. To prepare for his dancing scenes in Chicago, he studied tap dancing for 3 months to film just one half-day sequence. He also trained in karate for his role in An Officer and a Gentleman. Over the years, many critics and media outlets have named Richard Gere as one of the greatest actors ever to have received an Academy Award nomination. What do you think about what led to Richard Gere's dislike of Sylvester Stallone? After all these years, do you believe there's still hope for them to reconcile and put the past behind them? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.